Now, Simon, there was a great article written by Susan Pigg, who's the business reporter, and it was in the Star. And what it talks about is development fees. Taxes now add up to an average of $118,400 on a new detached house. That's what the report says. It's an interesting and very important topic, so we thought we would go right to the source. Joining us here in the studio is BILD Chairman Steve Upton of Tridel to talk about these development fees from the developer standpoint and to help us understand where these fees are going. So, Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Aaron. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let me refer to the article that right out of the gate, Susan's saying that up to 1/4 of the cost of new homes in GTA is a direct result of government fees, especially municipal development charges that have skyrocketed in less than a decade. So this is, again, according to the new report by the building industry. Is that indeed accurate?
It's somewhat accurate. In reality, the costs are actually about, say, 20% of a purchase price, which represents about 1/5. Combined cost of development charges, parkland costs, parkland contribution, application fees, Section 37 fees, a number of different fees and taxes, land transfer tax, for example, in Toronto, a number of fees that are compounded into a number that represents virtually 1/5 of your purchase price is just soft cost alone.
Unbelievable. And I think for our listeners, even I'm exhausted listening to that list, but I'm sure they're completely unaware of all that is being charged.
Yeah, most people are just amazed when we throw these numbers at them. And I've known about, the size of the numbers, but what amazes me is just in the last, 10 years, how much they've really increased. And what occurs to me is, we're talking about increases of what they quote in the article is anywhere from 140 to 400% just in the 6 GTA municipalities. Is there really that much of an increased demand that taxes and levies had to go up by that much?
Well, what's happening in the municipalities when you go just outside Toronto for a moment and go to the regional municipalities, they have two levels of government, they're regional and local. And the regional government require fees and charges to process applications for infrastructure and development for new development to occur. In the local municipalities, they're not just local municipality requirements for new development, but also for existing development, refurbishing new infrastructure and roads and so forth. So they have their agenda of things they need. The regional municipalities have theirs. In Toronto, it's a single level government.
So it's not two-tier, it's
single. So it's not two-tier, exactly. And their development charges are to do the same thing it does any other municipality, except in Toronto, infrastructure for the most part is already there. Yes, a little tired and older and needs work done on it, but that's all what DCs do. That's what taxes do, realty taxes do as well. So the large part of that amount of money is for capital expenditures that these municipalities need for infrastructure growth. And we're challenged by that because we think that in municipalities where the infrastructure already exists, there's no need to really be increasing development charges to that level.
So Brian Tuckey in the article is quoted as saying that everything from municipal development charges to the HST and transit levies have helped push the price of new detached homes to a record $640,000, which he is indicating is out of reach for a growing number of buyers. What's your comment on that?
He's absolutely right. Fundamentally, the cost of development charges, parkland levies, and now new transit infrastructure levies that are coming on board that Metrolinx is suggesting through the province that need to be put in place are actually on the backs of new development. And those costs are going to be borne by new purchasers. So the whole notion of affordability with new homes that we're trying to build to grow the city are going to be immensely challenged by these added costs.
A lot of consumers, or many consumers, might think, for example, that, of course, you guys are developers, you're the big bad guys, you're just trying to pad your profits. But at the end of the day, if charges go up, it's going to end up, being charged to the consumer. But I think what a lot of people don't understand as well is, we talk about, 20% is just levies and charges. And of course, the other 80% is profit for you guys. Isn't that right?
Not necessarily, no. I wish it was that easy.
Wouldn't that be great?
No, I mean, in fairness to the industry, developers, builders all run different means of how they run their performance to understand what their profit margins are going to be in communities when they're going to build new homes and new subdivisions, or in the case of Toronto, vertical housing, which is the condominiums. And at the end of the day, you're not really making a whole lot of money because it's the timing of when you buy the property, how long it takes to buy the property, how long it takes to get it in the approval process. Quick example, say 6-8 months to do a land deal, a year to 2 years to get approvals, another 9 months to maybe 18 months to sell the product, and it takes another year and a year and a half to get building permits, and that's when DC charges are payable. A period of 5 years can lapse, and when it does, whatever you performed in the original case has immensely changed by the time you actually get to reality. And so the actual number is changed hugely by the time you get to build the building and deliver it to your purchaser. And believe you me, the profits in these projects aren't what people think they are at the end of the day.
All right, I want to continue on that note, but first I just want to give a quote. Mayor Rob Burton had indicated whose municipality ranks top in the report for fees or condo developments and second in the GTA for new home charges. He said subdivisions have continued to sell out and builders' real fear is about protecting their profits. How do you respond to that?
Well, at the end of the day, you're in the business to make money. You're in the business to create housing for the population that's growing due to our immigration policies. People want to live in certain locations. You want to make sufficient monies on your projects and protect those as best you can, because you're now reinvesting that money back into that same community or other communities to do the same thing you do over and over again, and that's develop land, to build homes, to facilitate the increasing number of people who are immigrating to Canada, but also into this GTA area, in particular into the regional areas like Oakville, right, where people want to live just outside the fringe of Toronto, for example. Those areas are growing. And it's not a matter of just protecting profits. It's a matter of just making sure the profits are there so that they can be reinvested properly into the growth of that community and to meet the requirements that province has in terms of growing our communities and our businesses.
When we talk about real estate developers, I think a lot of people just imagine and think of only the big developers that are developing,
right,
1,000 homes at a time. But there's a ton of small, I call them the mom and pop builders, the ones that are doing one single or two singles at a time. And these are the ones that we see so much incredible competition. And what we're hearing directly from these smaller builders is one by one, the competition is just killing them because they've got to compete with the other builders down the street. They've got to buy land in a highly competitive market. They've got increasing costs, and a lot of times, what they're telling me is we're just trying to keep our guys working and we're literally doing some projects without making almost any profit at all. People have a hard time stomaching that, but that's part of the business. And if you can't stomach it, you're eventually going to be beat out. But at the end of the day, you can't keep putting everything on the backs of the builder, because at the end of the day, that's going to come back to the consumer. And as home buyers, we're going to be the ones footing the bill.
Great point, Simon. And I think at the end of the day, when we talk about BILD, they don't just represent the big builders, they represent all builders. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about that. Well,
you're absolutely right. We represent a lot of high-rise builders in this city and also in the regional areas, but we also represent a lot of low-rise builders and a renovators division as well, renovating homes. And the competition is very strong out there. When you've got provincial policies that actually freeze land in the 905 area, for an example, where they're trying to protect these greenbelt areas, once you freeze that land, it forces everything to move in a different direction. It's either going to go north or it's going to come south. And because the driving force has been south, it's come into Toronto, into the different areas of whether it's in downtown, Scarborough, Etobicoke, wherever. But when it does, it means that people sitting on their properties feel their properties are gold mines, and so they want more money for their land at the end of the day. So everyone's competing for those sites, including the small guy who will build those one or two homes. Mm-hmm. The difficulty we have with our small guys is that it's not so much all that as it is, at the end of the day, the development charges going up on a single-family house can go from anywhere from $24,000, $25,000 to now $40,000 just on DC charges alone.
Unbelievable.
They can't find a market to sell that house with that lot they bought to split into two lots to sell a house and incorporate all those costs and the cost to build it and everything else to find that they're actually going to get that revenue back and have some profit left that they can say it was worth their while.
So Steve, you're here to give a developer's perspective. So please tell us, what is it that you would ultimately, as well as BILD and everybody in the building industry, which is such an important industry, we seem to forget about that. What is it that you would like to see?
At this time, as far as DC charges are concerned, we really want a little bit more cooperation from the city to understand the facts, the real facts of our business that we do every day. They don't understand it in my mind. They don't understand it enough to be able to make the right decisions. So our goal really is to go out and educate them on the real facts of what's going on in our industry and what's going on with the costs, what's gone on with the Altus report we had commissioned to understand what the real costs are happening in 6 particular areas, and just drive home the fact that these costs need to be fair. We're not saying they cannot be existing. I mean, they're going to be there. We have to be fair. It just can't be on the backs of new development. It's got to be a fair share with existing communities as well, because they benefit as well. So that's our drive right now, is to get the message out there and help work with them that we can make it fair, logical, and keep our economy moving.
Well said, Steve. And I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this for some time to come.
I think you will be, because it's not finished yet.
Great having you here.
Thank you very much, Simon.